Hello my YouTube lovelies and welcome to another episode. This is episode 3 in a series of a van build. Just to kind of keep you abreast of things and just to sort of put things into context. The last episode that I uploaded, Bricks and Mortar, that was shot back in March 2018, and there's another video, episode 1, Red or Blue Pill, which was also shot pretty much around about the same time, almost exactly the same time. I put those videos up because they were sort of somewhat important in terms of they were there to explain what it was I left and what I gave up in order to be where I am now. So last week's one, for example, was kind of cringeworthy for me in a way, looking back at it, but I think it is important to show the journey and the progress that I've made. The other thing about these videos and this van build series that you're going to see over the next few months is slightly different to, I guess, how many of the vlogs and series of videos that I've seen on the internet are. I've documented everything. I've tried as much as possible to take the camera out and shoot every aspect of the build from as many different angles as possible, and I don't think I've missed anything. Pretty much everything is covered in one way or another. And I suppose the beauty of doing the van build this way and doing the vlogs this way is I'm able to sort of look back retrospectively at the work I've done. I can sort of, as much as possible, give you as much detail with regards to how I did things, as long as I can remember. But at the same time, I can sort of tell you whether it worked, whether it's a success, and if not, would I have changed things, or would I still change things? So I can look at it from a slightly different angle, which is kind of nice. This particular episode, I want to sort of concentrate on what it was I chose, or why I chose the particular van that I bought. So, as you may well know, I'm living in the van because if you watch the vlogs, you see that I've got a van, and there are vlogs out there of the interior, and it's pretty much done. I've been living in it for a year and 4 months now. And there's still work to be done. They always say your van's never finished, and there's always loads of things to do. I reckon I'm about 90% there now. But there'll always be things, these things never finish. There's always tweaks that you want to do and changes that you want to do. But the fact that I've been living it for a year and 4 months is testament to the fact that whatever I've done up to now has worked and is comfortable, and somewhat is a home. Also, just so that you know where I am at present, I'm at work. I'm in the office where I work in living room mode. This is a joke that I have with my colleagues, but it's sort of a place that I can do these vlogs to you, and it's warm as well. These will change. I might do them in the workshop, do them in the van, whatever. It's chuffing cold out there at the moment, hence why I'm doing it in here. So I went through a process of research here. Excuse me for looking down. I've got a book here. I won't show you this book, but it's Rob's van book, it's called. Little black book. And it's got some notes and bits and pieces that I'm trying to keep to. But more importantly, what this book has is every last bit of information with regards to my van. It's got sketches, stuff that I took from the internet, all kinds of bits and pieces, and it's my little Bible with regards to my van, and it's an interesting thing now to go back over and look at it and see where I took inspiration from, but also it kind of shows a few pointers and shows how I was thinking at the time. And yeah, I don't know, there's a sort of something quite nice about this little book, which sort of means quite a lot to me. So excuse me for looking down. So I did loads of research. I went onto the internet, I looked at hundreds of van build videos. I had a price in mind. I got a loan, a small loan. It was a £7,500 loan, and that £7,500 had to buy me a van, had to buy me a camera, lights, all the various equipment that I needed to vlog and to record the whole journey, and to kind of get me going. So there was a budget in mind, etc., with regards to how much I was going to pay for my van. To be honest with you, I always had a van in mind, and the reason why I had a particular van in mind excuse me, was really because I already had a layout in mind. When you watch as many videos as I did, and when you see various blogs, etc., eventually you start to formulate something in your mind, and I had this layout which just wouldn't leave me. It was always there, and because of this layout, it kind of, to some extent, sort of dictated what type of van I needed, certainly in terms of length, height, etc. But nonetheless, I was still very open, and I looked and researched and watched and did my homework. When I go back through this book, I kind of go back to page 13 in this book. There's a page where I wrote down all of these van dimensions. The website, I can't find it anymore, which is a real shame. I think, if memory serves me right, I think it was like a hire company or leasing company or something. And basically what they did, they had a table which set out all of the heights and the dimensions, etc., of all of these vans that are out there. And I went through this table. Now, I made a bit of a mistake, really, if I'm honest with you, because when I look at this information that I wrote down, the van dimensions were all from 2016. And the van I've got is a 2008 van, so its dimensions are slightly different to what I listed here. But nonetheless, it was a decent guide, rough guide to go by. So in this thing, you've got things like Citroën, Fiat, Peugeot, Ford, Mercedes, etc. So I sort of looked at all the various models that they were out there. To be honest with you, I really liked the Citroën, Fiat, Peugeot type model. It was the boxier of all the vans out there, but it was just a little bit out of my price range, and even trying to find one with a reasonable low mileage was just, it was just too expensive. So in the end I went with what was my gut instinct, and went for the length as opposed to the boxier panel van. I also chose to go down the panel van route as opposed to buying a Luton. As much as I would love to have a Luton, and the size and the dimensions and what you could do with it are amazing, I was always limited with my licence because I can only drive up to 3.5 tonne. And even though you can get a 3.5 tonne Luton, you've still then got the issue of weight, etc. And I just felt that it was going to be too close in terms of how much I could put in there without me going over weight. So I went down the panel van route. As I guess also the panel van route was very much like I had very much had always in the back of my head stealth in mind. Stealth was a priority. So I wanted something that was going to be easily just parked on the street and no one bat an eyelid at. It was just a white van. But going through this table, it's quite interesting. You know, you look at Citroën, Fiat, Peugeot, for example. I think they all share roughly the same sort of chassis, but they were coming in at 4 meters 70, 4 meters 7 actually in length, and then they had a width of 1 meter 87, and they had a height of 2 meters and 17. So really decent size. And then I looked at the Ford Transit Jumbo that came in at 4 meters 20 in length, had a 1 meter 78 width, and had a height of 2 meters and 2 centimeters. So pretty decent size. And then looked at Mercedes and VW Crafters, Mercedes Sprinter. And the Crafter, I think, have got again a very similar chassis. They came in at 4 meters 80, a width of 1 meter 78, and a height of 2 meters and 14. So they're a really nice size. And I'd driven Mercedes Sprinters previously for a job that I had, and I really like them. But the van that I wanted and the van that I was hankering after was the Iveco or the Iveco. I mean, you say tomato, I say tomato. What's the difference? I don't know. I think it's an Iveco because it's Italian or a European derivative. So let's go with Iveco. On this table here, it came in at 5 meters and 12 centimeters in length, and it came with a 1 meter 80 width and a height of 2 meters 10, and overall its cubic volume was 19.6 cubic meters. So it was the biggest van out there. And although, you know, as I said, I liked Mercedes, I'd watched a blog, I can't remember the guy, but he had an Iveco, and his was I think it was a 3rd generation Iveco, and he had done on the original engine over 500,000 miles, and that was sort of a telling thing for me. Mercedes, as much as they're a lovely van to look at, there were so many of them, and everyone seems to convert a Mercedes Sprinter or a VW Crafter, and I just wanted something a bit different. And through my research, etc., it just seemed that Mercedes Sprinters, they were just a little bit troublesome. Computers, goodness knows what, quite expensive to service, etc. So that's why I chose the route I did. So there we go. That was the thinking behind why I went for the van that I had. There are other reasons. Probably one of those is to do with the structure in the back. If you look at a Mercedes Sprinter and the Transit Jumbos, the way that the body is put together in the back, the cargo hold, the metalwork, etc., that makes up all the ribs and the structure, is quite complex. There's lots of little nooks and crannies, lots of little holes and stuff like that. There's quite a curve to it as well. And the other thing that won it over with the Iveco Daily was that it was a lot more straighter, and that the metalwork and all of the structure which made up the cargo hold was a simpler frame. And I think looking at it, it looked to me at the time, and having used it, it certainly was a fairly easy frame to work with in terms of insulation and screwing battens to it and installing the walls, etc., etc. So that was another kind of reason for going for the Iveco. I'm not going to say that, you know, what I've done and what I've chosen is the perfect thing, because, you know, it's races for courses, courses for races, horses for courses. Crikey, get your sayings right, Rob. One of those things. It's you know, we've all got different opinions and choices that, you know, suit our needs. I went with what I went with because I had a layout in mind, and so therefore the layout required length. Others will want smaller vehicles or a wider vehicle, etc. I hope that these videos that I'll produce over the next few months will give you a really good insight into how I went about my build. I'm not in any way mechanically minded or have particular skills that make me stand out from anybody else. I approached this knowing that it was going to be hard work, knowing that things weren't going to be perfect. I got as much advice as I possibly could through research on YouTube, etc. And then took all of that and steered it in a direction that I was comfortable with. So I'm not going to say that my particular series is the Bible with regards to, you know, the perfect way to do things. It was just my way that I felt comfortable with, and I think all of us out there, we've got a way in which we like to do things, and I think it's important that we work to our strengths. You know, some of us are electricians, some of us are carpenters, some of us are really good at welding, some of us are good at upholstery, you name it. We've all got various skills, and I think really the wonderful thing about van life and the vans that are out there are that they are shaped and made for the customer's needs, and the customer being the person that lives in it or, you know, takes it away on holidays. So they have their bespoke and unique feature to them. And we all go about doing things in a way that is easy for us and is within our comfort zone. And so that's exactly what I've done with mine. There are things about my van that aren't perfect, I know that for sure. There are things that I might want to change sometime in the future. Things that maybe I should have changed a while ago, but I live with it. You know, when you live in it, when you've lived in it for a year and 4 months, you kind of think, well, you know, it hasn't broke yet, it's fine, so just carry on. So I'm going to wrap this particular video up there and at least give you an insight into where we're going, what I've come from, and why I chose this particular van. The next episode we'll have a look at the van in a little bit more detail, and I'll be able to sort of show you some more footage which gives you an idea of what it was like when I first bought it, and then the challenges and all of the jobs that laid ahead with regards to the build. So I hope you have enjoyed this particular video. If you have, please comment and subscribe. I do my best as much as possible to respond to comments, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cheers.